It's an interview series where I talk to different people and ask them really basic questions such as what they wanted to become when they were in high school, their career journey, and goal setting methods. In most of the interview, when we talk about these small, very basic topic, something will come up like a situation or a person or a thing that help you direct your career to where you are. Meet Nadine Karaze, who is a UCF graduate, joined AdventHealth 6 years ago, and has been rising career ladder from an analyst to product owner and now a manager. When you was in high school and college, what you wanted to become, Nadine?
So in college, I started out my undergrad like everybody, confused, not sure what I wanted to do. It was just all kind of overwhelming at first. I honestly thought I wanted to go into something with radiology. Going into UCF, I was really proactive in trying to figure out, okay, what was my 4 years going to look like at UCF? Because I wanted to make sure I didn't waste any time. I had heard that, unless you're very strategic with your career path in college, that you may finish within closer to 5 years. And I was like, okay, I did not want to do that. So I had in my mind that like I need to finish within 4 years. So I was like, how was I going to do that? So I went into the business administration. And I talked to the folks there. I got some guidance. I asked them for some quick tips and tricks on how to manage my time the best way I could to make sure I completed my college career in 4 years. And then with that, of course, I had a lot of questions about what programs are being offered, what curriculums do they recommend. And I just kind of took on a bunch of brochures and started sifting through a bunch of catalogs on different things I could graduate with from UCF. So I pulled a bunch. I went to the business center and pulled a bunch of catalogs. And I said, okay, let me just sit down and review all these options and see where my interests kind of directed me. And then over time, I was like, okay, well, I think I want to do something in radiology. Let me see what it takes to pursue that track. Well, then shortly after I made that decision, UCF decided to do a budget cut and they removed that 4 year program. So it forced me to go back to the drawing boards, go through the catalogs, and see what was the runner-up option. And sure enough, I saw something around healthcare. It still pertained to healthcare, but it was more of a tech route. So I was like, oh, this piques my interest. It's not very clinical, but it is still in the healthcare domain, and I knew I liked something to do with healthcare and tech. So I'm like, all right, let me explore my options. So with that, I honed in on HIM and then healthcare informatics. And so that's kind of what all led to my journey. It was a lot of discovery work. It was a lot of patience. You kind of have to trust the process. And really just go with your gut and say, I don't even know if I'm going to like this, but I'm going to take this on and see what happens. And then over time, I had learned to just trust the process, go ask the right questions, talk to different mentors, people in the industry. Took those opportunities to intern at the hospital, which back in the day it was Florida Hospital, and through that I learned a lot. I think getting as close to those real life experiences as possible while you're in the program is super beneficial because then at that point, if you want to pivot or you decide you don't like it or you've changed your mind, you still have the opportunity to do that, right? So that's kind of how I kind of started off my journey. And I think through that, I learned a lot. I learned, okay, I actually don't want to be clinical by going and doing these interns because I was working at the hospital while I was going to school full time and working. And I just found myself in a situation where I'm like, okay, is this what I want to do? Do I want to be working in the healthcare setting at the hospital? And very quickly did I learn that wasn't for me. So again, I had to pivot. So it's just that constant willingness to adapt and keep charging on. Because it's not going to be perfectly cut and clear and smooth sailing. It's going to be, okay, let's learn about some options. Let's dive into that and see what works for me. Um, and so then in a nutshell, I found myself working at the hospital and hating it. And so I was like, oh gosh, I can't graduate with this degree and then continue on this path of potentially staying within the healthcare clinical space. So I then again took a step back and I said, all right, what can I do to pivot but not add as much extra time to my college career? So that's
Mhm.
kind of where I landed with healthcare informatics. It was a great, middle ground for me. It allowed me to stay in the healthcare space, but it also not be so clinical, but then also kind of explore the tech area. So then that's kind of how I landed with that, and then finally graduated in something that made sense for me and really kicked off my career and making sure that I was going in the right direction. But
Wow.
yeah, as you can see, it wasn't very clear cut. It was a lot of like for anyone who's listening to this, as you enter college, the first thing that you pick might not be the thing you land with. And that is perfectly fine. You're gonna have to explore it, learn if that's even right for you.
Right.
And then if you have to pivot, that is perfectly okay. Just trust the process, stick with it, and really explore your options. Um, and try to be surrounded with people who will help push you and challenge you to get out of your comfort zone a little bit, because that's okay too.
And then I think the worst thing to do is to wait for that inspiration or perfect course and subject to appear and not do anything.
No, definitely not. I highly recommend just keep trying new things, even if it's not exactly what you're looking for. You just never know what will come your way, and you'll even surprise yourself.
Yeah.
So I learned that worked for me. And I'm really glad that I continued going back to the drawing boards, exploring my options, and then trying something new. You don't know really sometimes until you try. And so I do believe in that philosophy. And over time, it'll work itself out. Just stick with it.
This is a great story to tell how many times you change compared to the person who is in high school and trying to think, should I start my college or not, because I'm not clear what I want to do.
Right. Yeah,
Uh,
and you really don't know until you get that hands-on exposure. So I highly recommend early on, if you think you have an idea of what you're going into, see what you can to intern, shadow time, whatever
mhm.
it is. Connect with professionals in that space. Get to know people. Maybe join some meetups, some professional network meetups that really gets you that exposure to the world and the reality of it, because what you study is completely different when what you're actually doing on the day to day. So it's good to get that exposure sooner than later. That way you're not wasting your time and graduating with something that you're never going to use or apply, which would be a shame because 4 years is a long time.
So, how did you get that first job in AdventHealth?
So I didn't mention this, but I did go back to UCF and I went to pursue my master's degree. I just knew that if I was going to be successful in my journey, I would have to continue education and get my master's in healthcare informatics. And what I did to kind of land the position I'm in now is I applied all over the place, like many soon to be graduates, and just kept putting applications out there. I was doing a lot of networking with our department within UCF, our internal department. And then I found myself also kind of reaching out to folks that I've met professionally over the years through various interns, et cetera, and just kind of reaching out to them directly and seeing if they had any opportunities available. Um, so I, kind of explored a lot of different options. And then one day I applied to AdventHealth and I saw that they had an opening, and I went in for an interview. They had called me back and I went in for an interview. And of course, this was completely a new domain. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It was with corporate analytics. This was kind of a newer area for me. However, I was quite familiar with it because we had studied quite a bit around this area and different business intelligence tools. So we had some exchanges go back and forth. And one of my assignments as part of the interview process was to build a dashboard in ClickView using the business intelligence tool at AdventHealth at the time. And they were like, we want you to take some data, find some sample data, and build out a dashboard. And I was like, okay, I have no expertise in this, no skill sets in this, and I had to learn it from scratch. I also had to find some random raw data to work with to build a dashboard. And so that was kind of my assignment. And I was like, all right, well, this is my opportunity to get introduced into the real world with an amazing opportunity with analytics. So I took it on. And fortunately, I was able to build something after several weeks. They had given me 2 weeks to put something together, very simple, but I think they just wanted to see, am I willing to self learn, take initiative, and see what I can do to collect and kind of transform some data sets and make some meaningful use out of it. And then with that, followed up with some interviews and back and forth exchanges. But I honestly think till this day, what really landed me in this opportunity was just being myself and being true to myself and really allowing myself to just take it all in, maximize your opportunity, and then just be yourself. I say that again because believing yourself is half the battle, and just showing up with confidence and a smile on your face goes a long way. I think what they continually expressed with me, I kept remembering this. They were like, "Listen, skill sets are something you can always learn, but a personality is something you can't train anybody." So, with the willingness of obviously learning and my hunger to evolve and adapt, and then of course with a hint of the personality aspect, I think that that's what really allowed me to stand out against my competitors. And so over time, it was just a lot of just it kind of became clear to me. I was like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Sometimes you just have to keep it simple and stick to your foundations. And I truly believe in just just having someone to believe in you and then believing in yourself really goes a long way.
I'm going to touch more on this part. It's easy to
Yeah.
say that know yourself, believe in yourself, but it's really hard to actually do it. And
Yeah.
and many times you don't even know how, right? Because knowing yourself is not an easy task. You may have to do 10 different activities just to understand who you are.
And it
And then
takes time, especially early on in your career, right? You're not as confident, you're not really sure what the expectations are, you don't know what kind of questions they're going to ask. So you're just a little overwhelmed, but if you just believe in yourself and know that you can do it,
Mhm.
it's nothing that you can't handle. You just have to kind of, and you won't always have the answers, and that's okay. And you just have to have a way to handle that, and a good follow up to say, listen, I might not know these answers, but I'm going to go home and I'm going to research this, and I'm going to come back to you with some answers. So just showing that eagerness and hunger and dedication goes a long way.
So Nadine, from that job to a product owner job,
Yeah.
seems like you was enjoying that job. So how did it occur to you to change? And the people who don't know, it's a completely two different domains, right? The one that you was into, and then as a product owner, it was different.
Yeah, I mean, so I came from building dashboards. I was hired on as a ClickView developer analyst, associate level. I was building dashboards, taking data, transforming them into a dashboard that leadership was looking at to make business decisions or help drive different behaviors. And then over time, I had built great relationships within the organization, and I had realized there was other opportunities in the organization that piqued my interest, and I knew I could develop. However, that position specifically was a lot more technical. It was a lot more less people involved, if you will. It was more me working at the computer and working internally with my colleagues, which is fine. But I think for my personality type, I naturally gravitated working with more people, stakeholders. I enjoyed that aspect of the job the most. So I was trying to figure out how can I still stay in the tech space, but pivot in a way that really gets me that exposure and working with teams, even leading out a team and working closely with the stakeholders. And then I was made aware that the product owner position that team was looking to hire. And so naturally that piqued my interest, and I went ahead and applied to it. And of course, went through the interview process, and again, stuck to being myself and staying true to myself and believing in myself, because I knew, again, it's completely a new domain. But it's similar but different, because I'm no longer building a dashboard and just sitting at my desk. This product role really had me pushing out of my boundaries and my comfort, working with software developers, something that I didn't know a whole lot of, but I knew what development was, just not at that grand scale of building software from beginning to end, right? So it definitely had some areas that didn't make me feel very comfortable at first, but it ended up working out, and through persistence and the eagerness to just apply, like learning and continuing to push myself out of my comfort zone, I find that that's kind of how you end up excelling. Don't ever stay in a comfortable zone, if that makes any sense.
It definitely does.
Yeah. So I find that you grow the most when you're constantly pushing your self boundaries and taking those risks and seeking opportunity when it comes your way. And so I was like, you know what? This is a new opportunity. Let me just try to go and seize it, see what happens. I have nothing to lose, because if it doesn't work out, I'm still doing what I love to do. But if it works out, this is going to be a great growth opportunity for me. And I get to push myself outside of my comfort zone, and continuing to learn and evolve and see what is the best fit for me. I mean, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. It's continuing to evolve as the years pass, and that is perfectly fine. What you start doing after college is not probably what you're going to end up doing forever. So it's a continuing journey that will probably continue to evolve and change, which is perfectly fine.
That's so true. And just like you said before, working outside your comfort zone is another a buzzword, but it's really hard to do. And for me, what that means is when you are in job number one and you change to job number two, in my case, becoming a manager or becoming a senior manager, and my senior manager job was completely different domain as the previous one. The biggest thing that you miss is the gut feeling that you have developed in your job working so many years. And then in this new job, you wanted to run with the same pace on day one, and you can, right? If you try to, you can act like before. And in my previous first time when I became a manager, I was still doing technical heavy activity because that was my comfort zone. Yeah. And giving a review to another team member, or there are a bunch of other activities where I was not comfortable, but I kept running, and it's basically focusing on those technical activities or production downtime or you name it, right? Because I was excellent at it. So that developing that gut feeling takes time. And I think for me, that was the big thing with each job. You develop that in few months, few years, and that's where your actual growth happens.
Absolutely. I truly felt what helped me succeed in in the product owner role was the minute I got comfortable. That's kind of when I know that was the ticking bomb for, like, okay, you're getting too comfortable. And then you start feeling like you might get complacent, which is something that I truly have to be self-aware of. Right? We're human beings. We like comfort. We like to be comfortable, right?
Right.
And the minute you find yourself sitting there and thinking, "Am I comfortable? Am I getting complacent?" That's really when you should be starting to think, okay, I see this coming. I should prevent this from coming. Because if you continue to stay in that space, I think it's a very dangerous space to stay in. At least for my personal, for me personally, when I have hit that space, I try my best to get out of it, because I get complacent. I'm less likely to push my boundaries. I'm less likely to look for opportunities. I'm less likely to grow and challenge myself. And I find when I'm challenging myself, that is when growth and success comes shortly after, because you have something in front of you, you're trying to get better at it, and you're working towards something new. And sometimes it's not easy. You're like, okay, well, I've been in this job for 3 years. That's usually around the timeline, usually between 2 to 3 years, I feel like, where I start getting a little comfortable somewhere. And at that point, I have to start asking myself, okay, do I want to continue doing this? Yes, maybe not. And if so, how am I going to start pushing the boundaries and start challenging myself to either scale or grow or whatever it is that I'm looking for, to push myself back out of my comfort zone? And so asking yourself those questions, it starts to, settle in and hit you think, okay, yeah, maybe I am ready for something new. And then through that, you just never know what kind of can of worms you're going to open. And then things kind of follow suit. So that's kind of where I found myself in the product owner role. I was kind of like, all right, I've been at it for three years, and I love the work that I was doing. But I was like, well, do I see myself continuing this, or am I ready for something new? So sometimes you have to kind of just be real and ask yourself those hard questions.
And I don't know if you noticed this or not, but your previous change was 3 years, 3 months, and this
Three and
change
a
is
half,
all
yep.
3
Yep,
years.
usually 3 years, 3.5 years is like my ticking kind of cue for, hey, maybe is this still for you, or are you ready to evolve and change it up? And I'm still looking for what I think is going to be the best fit for me, which is why I continually ask myself that question: do I feel fulfilled? Am I reaching my best potential? And if the answer is no, then yeah, I keep kind of digging for something else, but still relevant and still in the same space, because I still love what I do. I just need to see what is the best angle for me. And I think that's what my journey has led me to. Of course, the moves that I'm making are somewhat strategic, right? It's not just kind of random and aimless.
Right.
It's with some sort of direction. So you have to kind of keep that in mind too, depending on what your goals are. I think one day I see myself um, in a position where maybe I'm managing people, or just kind of more on the business strategy side, which is kind of where I'm sitting now. And I knew that I needed to understand what it took to get there. So knowing product ownership, product management kind of is the foundation for that. Knowing data and the analytics side of things is just a key foundation layer for product management. So you kind of see how these pieces fit in together. And then now I'm more on the strategy and planning side. So I know what it takes to kind of drive a product. I know what it takes to develop a product, whether it's failed or succeeded. And then now I'm kind of getting the purview of understanding what it takes to strategize and plan for any new technology solution. So these pieces are all coming together, and now I get to understand, okay, I know I liked this, I like that. This role is going to introduce, do I like the strategy and planning side? And if I do, then I'll continue here. If I don't, I might go back to tech development, because I also really enjoyed that space. So you don't know, like I said, until you try. But I always say, trust the process. It's not going to be perfect. Stay consistent, stay persistent, build the right connections. And what's helped me a lot too is getting close with some great mentors, whether it be within the organization or outside of the organization. That's helped guide me and helped recommend things and advice in times where I'm not always sure on what to do. It's really good to build those dynamics to help steer you in the right direction and keep you held accountable and keep you motivated to keep going, because sometimes we just have those days where we're just like, what am I doing? I'm not seeing any progress. I don't see that I'm making an impact. And sometimes it just feels like a broken record. So it's really important to have people like that in your life to help cheer you on, show that they believe in you, so you can continue to believe in yourself and then keep moving forward.
A point about the mentor, and that's something that has helped me as well in my career journey, especially when I feel lost. I wanted to come back to your job as a product owner, Nadine.
Mm-hmm.
when you became a product owner for the scheduling provider scheduling, we are more responsible to IT and not to the actual data. But for you didn't distinguish between what we are responsible for and what we are not responsible for. You took the 100% ownership, and you have the contractor working for you to do the data fixing. You have your stakeholder, you have the programmers and everyone, and you became the connecting dot, and you made it more stable we ever had. So how did you do that, especially from the mindset perspective, Nadine, that you taking the whole ownership?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, going into it, I didn't think I was going to have to do that. But I think what I realized was that at that time, we didn't have a lot of ownership over different areas like data governance. And we were solely responsible for technology, but we solely also relied on the data quality and integration. So I kind of found myself in a position where no matter what I did on the tech side to improve the consumer experience for our stakeholders, it just never seemed to be enough. So that's kind of when we realized, okay, as a team, we had to kind of put in a process to support many of their pain points around data and figure out a way to turn it around quickly so that we could relieve a lot of their pain points and frustrations. Because I think the technology piece was there and it was mostly solid, but it was more around getting the provider data correct and up to date. And then, of course, we continually wanted to work on improving the user experience for our consumers, and then kind of meeting the business in the middle too with meeting their needs. So I intentionally didn't start, go in with that plan. But I think what I had learned after building and the relationships that I built with the business, it was clear to me that they needed that support and they needed that help. And I think the only way we were going to be successful with our product was to take it all on and make sure that the data was where it needed to be to kind of help highlight how amazing our tool was. And then, of course, taking into consideration the user experience. So doing that consumer research and appropriately designing a flow that made sense for our consumer. So at the end of the day, as a product owner, you're going to be put in situations where you need to make the product successful. And if that means it lives outside of the tech and kind of goes into the operational play, I felt like it was my duty to make sure I could um, help play a role in that to improve the whole journey from beginning to end. Um, so yeah, I think that helps with success because you're not just looking at it from a one lens view, you're looking at it holistically. And to be a successful product manager and developing a product that people are going to use and want to leverage, you have to keep it relevant. You have to keep it user friendly. You have to keep it meeting the needs of the consumer and the business. So I think that's kind of what contributed to the success of the project.
And was it scary in the beginning, or at any point that you taking this ownership?
Yes, it was a lot of work. Many long hours. It was worth the sacrifice though. I truly also loved what I was doing, so I think that helps. Um, but it was a little scary and intimidating at first. As you know, Vinny, our some of our stakeholders can be scary, and so that's kind of where the whole believe in yourself, stick with it, kind of comes into play in those days where you don't always have someone to lean on or someone to help give you some inspiration. So you're kind of having to lean on yourself and just trust in yourself that it's going to work out and it's okay.
So, due to the time constraint, we will have a second part of this, and I
Okay.
will proceed to this to the last two questions. Question number one is, what your message to the people who want to become a product owner?
Well, if they're just coming out of school and hopefully they've been lucky enough to get some experience while studying, I would highly recommend getting as much exposure with folks in our industry and networking. I also highly recommend some professional meetups within their local area. Building the right connections is super insightful. I also think you may build amazing relationships to get potentially even a mentor to help guide you in those times um, that you need support. And also kind of get you connected to other folks in the industry that you never know when you're going to cross paths with again that may really make an impact to you in your career. And then stay relevant, read some books, and really understand the why of what you're doing. And always try to get as much exposure with your consumers, and be as hands-on as possible when you're thinking about a product.
And I think in your case, you did this product owner training after coming into this role, right? Not before.
Yep, that's true. And I think the becoming a certified product owner is super helpful. You learn a lot of great content and then think of ways of how to apply it. Definitely helps with that. But I definitely think networking and getting that real life exposure is going to be your best bet. And yeah, and I think while you're if you're in school or just coming out of school, reach out to people in your industry or meetups and stay connected.
Message to the audience, and my audience is the people who are in the early career, 2 to 5 years, and then also the people in the college. But what you message to those?
My message is stick with it, trust the process, stay true to yourself, and just stay persistent. It's not going to be easy. It might even be a lonely journey for a while, but it will pay off. And just always remember the why, because sometimes you're going to find yourself in situations where you're like, I'm burnt out, I'm stressed, I don't know what I'm doing and why I'm doing this, but it'll all be worth it at the end when things start coming to fruition and coming together. So it will work out, and just keep an open mind and keep your options open. Another key thing I would say to the folks listening to this is surround yourself with people who are going to help, root you on and cheer you on, and really think about your influences around you. It's a huge contributor to, I think, a lot of my successes. When I looked around and I have a strong family support foundation, friend circle, and just professionals around me that inspire me and motivate me, it just kind of helps keep you going on those times where just things are getting tough. So always surround yourself with those who influence you to be the best version of yourself, whatever that looks like to you.
When we will meet next time, we'll be talking about goal setting, time management.
Yes, those are key components to being successful. So that sounds great, Vinny.
All right. Thank you so much, Nadine.
All right. Thank you. Take care.